much for joining me for another episode of the Hilo Stitch podcast. I am your host, Kristen. I am here to talk to you about, what else? Knitting and all things knitting and yarn related. Sometimes not so knitting and yarn related. So if you don't know me already, my name is Kristen Janik. I'm a semi-retired knitting pattern designer, knitting instructor, all-around knitting and yarn enthusiast, podcasting to you from the Maryland suburbs of Washington, D.C. So today we are going to be talking about a finished sweater, a couple of whips, a couple of additions to my yarn stash, and a new event that I am so excited to tell you about. So let's jump in. All right, let's start off telling you guys about this new event, and that is the Swatch Scholar Challenge, which is back for another round. So I usually run this challenge once a year. It is a free 5-day challenge to help you kickstart your swatching. So whether you're a new knitter and you're not really sure what the whole swatching thing is about, or you're an experienced knitter who just hates swatching and doesn't trust swatches, whatever the case may be, I hope you will join me for this challenge. We're going to spend 5 days working through a basic flat swatch. We are going to be going over all of my best tips and tricks for swatching, and we are going to be walking through step by step the process of creating your swatch, washing and blocking your swatch, which yes, you're supposed to do, and then actually measuring your gauge. So as I said, I usually run this once a year. I have lost count of how many times I have done it. I want to say this is probably the 5th or the 6th time. It is completely free. You sign up, you get 5 email lessons delivered to your inbox, and each lesson comes with a video, which I think I just started doing last year, the video element. And it's a great way to just get a better handle on swatching. If you like, you can pick like a specific pattern that you want to swatch for. Ideally something that is knit flat, because we're going to be working a basic flat swatch. And it is just a really great opportunity to really get a better handle on swatching in kind of a low pressure situation. You don't have to be swatching for a particular project. You can just kind of swatch, and then there's no pressure to be getting a specific gauge. You're really just focusing on the art of swatching. So this starts on March 27th. There is a link in the description box down below to sign up. Like I said, you just put your email address in, and on March 27th, you'll start getting the emails. They will come right to your inbox. And I do this as a prelude to my Swatch Master class, which will start in April. It is currently available as an independent study, but once a year I run the live version, which is a little bit more interactive. You get to interact with your fellow students and with me, your professor. So the Swatch Scholar Challenge is sort of a lead up to that, but you're under no obligation, of course, to participate in that. You can just participate in the Swatch Scholar Challenge, which is free and just comes right to your inbox. There will be prizes. I don't know what they are yet, but we will definitely have some. And everyone who does participate will get a discount code for the Swatch Master class, which again is going to be starting in April. So link below, all the details about the Swatch Scholar Challenge. I hope you will join us. I usually have somewhere around 100 people that are participating. Because you know what, we can always take a few minutes to hone our swatching skills, because it really sets us up for better future projects, better fitting sweaters, and who doesn't want that? So I hope you will join me for that. On and off the needles, I actually finished something. I have finally finished my Felix Pullover. I started this in the fall as part of the Wool Needles Hands Felix for Fall Cal. I did not finish it during the cal, but it is done now. I didn't run out of yarn. I thought I might. Came pretty close at the end, but actually got perfect length sleeves without running out. So I'll stand up so you can see a little bit better. This is the Felix Pullover. This is a pattern by Savory Knitting, Amy Christophers. It is a pretty basic top-down raglan with some eyelet details along the raglan lines, some short row shaping for the neck, and then the rest is just plain stockinette. It is really comfortable. I don't remember which size I knit. I think the 2, whatever the second size was, which gives me like 6-ish, maybe, around 6, I think, inches of positive ease. I will say that this pattern, as you can see, has longer armholes. Not everybody likes that. It doesn't bother me, especially because I almost always wear a t-shirt under my hand knits, because for the most part, I don't like having wool right next to the skin on my torso. Kind of bothers me. So for that reason, I will usually be wearing a shirt underneath, but also because when you have an underlayer, it prevents a lot of the oils and sweat from your body from getting into the sweater. They go onto your t-shirt instead, and then you don't have to wash your sweaters as often. It's better to wash your sweaters less wear and tear on them, and they'll last longer. But I'm getting off on a tangent. So my sweater is done. It has been done for a couple of weeks, so I've worn it a few times. I worked this with Durham Natura Gilead, held double with Knitting for Olive silk mohair. I don't know if you can, it doesn't look super fuzzy. You can see a little bit of fuzz, but overall this is not like a super floofy mohair. It's just giving it a little extra softness, but I think you can see, if I get close, the little strands of silk kind of running through, giving it, the camera doesn't know what to focus on, giving it just a little bit more dimension to the color. So the Gilead, the color is For It, which is a forest green, and the Knitting for Olive was a bottle, it was called Bottle Green. So just a little more depth to the color. Did I do the, yes, I did. I did do the tubular cast on for the collar. I did the tubular bind off on the hem, which took forever. I used Jenny's surprisingly stretching bind off on the cuffs. I do find that when I use a tubular bind off on sleeve cuffs, it's really hard to get the tension right. It's either too loose or too tight, and more often too tight, and then the sleeves are just not comfortable. So it doesn't look quite as nice as a tubular bind off, but you know, you really don't want your sleeve cuffs to be too tight. So this is a nice and warm. Like I said, this is a really basic pattern. So after you are done the eyelet design with the yoke and a little bit of short rows on the back neck, this is really simple. It's basic stockinette, a little bit of shaping for the sleeves. And that is it. So this is a really nice project for mostly kind of mindless knitting that's going to give you a pullover that's just kind of a step above your basic stockinette pullover. This would probably be a good project if you are a new sweater knitter. There is a little bit of short row shaping in the back of the neck to what it does is raise the back of the neck and lower the front of the neck, so you don't have this like right up here. And it's relatively, it's maybe like an inch drop, just to make the neck a little bit more comfortable. So I wouldn't skip it. As long as you follow the directions for your short rows, there's nothing inherently complicated about knitting short rows. It's a technique to practice doing wrap and turn short rows, or for stockinette, I prefer German short rows. I think they look neater. So that itself is a technique to practice and will look better the more that you do it. But there's nothing inherently difficult about the short row itself. Now, designing with short rows, that gets a little more complicated. But even if you are a new knitter, as long as you just follow the directions in the pattern, short row shaping, especially just for the back neck, is relatively simple. So I would not let that put you off. If you are looking for a good beginner sweater pattern, I think this might be a good choice for you. So finally I have something off the needle, something that I can wear. And I have been wearing it. It is, I thought once I finished it, probably we would get warm weather and I wouldn't have a chance, but the weather, we've had a few warm days here and there, a couple of days in the 70s, one day almost 80, But for the last couple of weeks, it's been 40s and 50s, so I've gotten plenty of wear out of my sweater, and it is nice and cozy. So definitely take a peek at the pattern and the yarn. I really like I've been using the Durare Natura yarns a lot lately, but I really like them just for they have a nice range of colors. The wool is soft, but not super soft. Like I'm not seeing, I've got a bit of pilling under the arms from the silk mohair, really not much from the Gilead. It's really sturdy, it's really soft, and it's pretty reasonably priced. So you can take a peek into that yarn as well if you're interested. This is the only thing I have off the needles. I have lots of things on the needles and some new things, but nothing else off the needles. So I will show you what has been on the needles. Let's start with this one. If you watched my vlog the other day about history bounding sweater patterns, you got a peek at this, and I have done a bit more work since then. This is always a tangled mess. At least I'm not in the middle of a row this time. So this is my Heirloom Jumper. This is a pattern by Fable Knitwear. It is an Edwardian inspired sweater with puffed sleeves, and I am doing the I keep forgetting what she calls it. There's like subtle puff and something, normal sounding, but I always want to say like super duper puff, but that's not it. But I am doing the more pronounced puffed sleeve, and you can see it here, and it looks so cute. So I have done all of the increases and am now decreasing out the extra stitches for the puffed sleeve. I am super in love with this project. The yarn, I think, is beautiful. It is, so whereas in this sweater, the Knitting for Olive silk mohair doesn't seem super fuzzy, in this one, you can definitely, I think, see a lot of the fuzz and halo in there, which I like, but it's still not so much that it's distracting from this lace pattern, which I guess is kind of hard to see with it on the needles. But I think you're still getting a lot of good stitch definition. My yarns are really soft. I love the color. The lace pattern, I think I mentioned the last time, I thought it was going to be tricky to memorize, but actually just after a couple of passes, I got it. So thankfully that was not a problem. The knitting itself gets a little bit awkward when you have so many increases in this small space to create this puff. It just kind of distorts the way that the stitches lie on the needle, and so it feels a little awkward as you work across those stitches, because again, you've got so many stitches in such a small area. But that's, that is the sacrifice we make for puffed sleeves. So as I said, I am almost done decreasing out the puff stitches, and then I'm not even sure what happens after that. I don't know if there's more yoke shaping. I haven't really read ahead. I am just kind of going with the flow, following the directions, not making any changes or adjustments at this point, just trusting the pattern to give me the sweater that I want. The only thing I am doing is I did not get gauge. I went up 2 needle sizes and I still didn't get gauge, and at that point I thought that my fabric looked too loose, or my fabric looked fine, but I didn't want it to be any looser. So I am just knitting a size larger than I normally would, but adjusting my lengths to the size I would normally work. So that is the only change I am really making so far to the pattern. As I go on, maybe something else will come up, but for now, that's the only major change I'm making. So it's looking so cute, and I just love it. I'm sure I will have it finished just in time for the warm weather. It is now, you know, mid-March, so even though our weather has cooled down again, it's not going to last forever. Soon it will be hot and humid and yuck. So I guess I'm not making like super fast progress on this, because I do have a couple of test knits going on and a design I'm working on, but I'm picking it up here and there. What I really need to start thinking about is what I'm going to bring to Peru. So when you're watching this, we will be leaving in 2 weeks. I need to think about what I'm going to bring with me. I need to think about what I'm going to try to bring on the plane. Technically, knitting is allowed on the plane, but TSA agents have a lot of discretion, and if they decide that your stuff looks dangerous, they can just say no. So I have to think about that. Yeah, I've got to start planning. So we are going to be there for 2 weeks. Probably the most knitting time I'll have is on the plane, so hopefully I can get a good project in there with me. But I still definitely want to have some projects, especially for the part of the trip where I'm going to be going to Cusco. I've got train ride and bus ride to Machu Picchu, which, you know, if you have not been, it's most of the tours are going to take you on a bus ride from Cusco to Ollantaytambo, and that's where you're going to pick up the train. And so each of those is like an hour and a half. Not that there's nothing to look at, it's absolutely beautiful. But, you know, I like to have my knitting with me and then back down. And of course, I would love to have a picture of myself knitting at Machu Picchu, and maybe other places in Cusco. So I gotta start planning what knits I'm gonna be bringing with me. I doubt this is going to be one of them, just because it's a lot of yarn, because I've got two yarns held double, and because it's kind of a project that has a lot of moving parts, so I might want to bring some simpler stuff with me, but we'll see. So that's one project on the needles. I started a new test knit. I'll tell you about the yarn in Stash Flash, but the project itself, I really should be making more progress than I am. So this is a test knit for Jessie May. If you follow her on Instagram, you've probably seen, she's got like a, what's it called? Helix Halter. And I think the main version she's been showing is a kind of a cold shoulder version with cutouts and long sleeves. I'm not doing that, I'm just doing a regular halter, which is kind of like a lacy open work design, very summery. Don't look at my chip nail polish. So I have right now done the neckband and started on, well, I don't know if it's the front or a back, but something. I don't know if it's the front of the neck or the back of the neck. Or maybe it's just a sleeve. No, I don't think so. I think it's, well, it doesn't matter. I have not made very much progress, and I really need to get moving on that. I'd love to have this to wear on our trip, since in Peru it will be, especially in Lima, just the end of summer, very early fall, and the weather will still be warm. When we were there at almost the same time 5 years ago, and it was still quite warm in the city. It was warm enough for the kids to go swimming. Definitely would be warm enough for that. Maybe that'll be a project I bring on the plane, but I'd like to have it finished before then. We'll see. I don't know. The other thing I want to show you is not here because I'm really well prepared, so I'm going to go get that. All right, that's better. The other project I am working on is another test knit that I'm getting there. It's going. It's not going all that quickly, but it's going. So this is a test knit for Alicia Plummer. I sincerely doubt I am going to finish this on time. I was making good progress, and then a couple of weeks ago, everyone in our house got a stomach bug, except for my husband. And that sort of just derailed like everything I was working on, and then everything started falling behind. So I don't think this is going to be done on time, but I am going to keep going with it because I really like the finished project. So again, I'm using, it's Ram Nature yarn. This is the Elise. I don't remember the name of the color. Arable, or it's French, so Arable, I don't know. This is a kind of a batwing style pullover. I'm getting a lot of curling at the bottom because all this cabling, it's really pulling in the middle, and it'll straighten itself out when I block it, but obviously I'm not there yet. So it is a relatively small gauge and a lot of cabling, so it's not going all that quickly. Also, to get this bat wing shape, you're increasing every row, so it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But I am really happy with the way that it is working out. I have a couple of mistakes that look like garbage on here that I didn't fix well. And my solution to that is, even though I suspect this is supposed to be the front, I'm gonna make it the back. Unfortunately, all of them, or probably not all, but the majority of the mistakes that I have made are on just one side. So the other side, which is the one I've been showing you, looks better. So I really like, see if I can stretch this out a little bit. This cable here is looking really cute. I really like that. Let's get a little closer. I really like the way that cable is done. I think it is standing out neatly. But it's just slow going. There's very little stockinette here, and the pattern is, fortunately, it's very easy to memorize, but it's also a pretty repetitive pattern on, let's see, a US 5. So it's a little bit of slow going, you know, and especially the cable rows with all of the honeycomb. Those take a bit of time, but it's getting there, and I really do like it and want this sweater. So I am going to keep going, even if I'm going to miss the deadline, which I hate doing, but you know, life happens. And had I the choice not to have a terrible stomach bug, trust me, I would have taken it. Not that anybody is a big fan of stomach bugs, but I am especially not a fan of taking care of a vomity child and then my reward being a stomach bug. But what are you gonna do? The only other thing I'm working on is actually 2 socks, but I only have one of them here, and it doesn't look very exciting right now. This is, the pattern is called Brayamore, I want to say. Brayamore, it is a pattern by Annie Fletcher, and it is basically a ribbed sock with a kind of interesting looking heel. And since I'm nowhere near the heel, it's basically just a ribbed sock. The yarn, I gotta say, it looked really nice in the skein, but I don't love the way it's working up in the sock. It's just kind of getting a little muddy. Maybe it'll look a little better blocked, but unfortunately, yeah, it's just looking a little muddier in the skein, but I mean in the sock, but it is beautiful. This is a colorway, it's called Petita. It is from, she's kind of local too. No, I'm not gonna get it, but I'll put it here. So I don't know, you know, maybe it's just like the gauge that it's being worked at, that it is not standing out as nicely as you might like, but it is really pretty. So darn it, why can't I remember? Anyway, I'm working on that and one other sock that isn't here, and other than that, I think that's everything that I have on the needles. I have just a teeny bit of new yarn to show you. So the first is the yarn that I got for the test knit. So I ordered these from Brooklyn General in New York, Brooklyn General store. And apparently there's a little card in here that I didn't open. Oh, look at that. Isn't that cute? They have these little cards. That's adorable. So like I said, I ordered this from Brooklyn General. This is, I don't know, Isager Beaumoulin. It is a cotton linen blend that I actually heard about when I was translating a pattern for a Chilean designer. So I recently finished translating 4 patterns for her. I'm probably going to talk more about one of them in a future episode because I'm going to knit it myself. I absolutely love it. It is called the Amelie cardigan. I was hoping I would have the yarn for it to show you today, but it's not here yet. But this is a yarn she uses for one of the other patterns that I translated. And as I was doing the translation, I thought, oh, this would probably be a good yarn choice for the test knit for Jessie made. So it is 65% cotton, 35% linen, 210 meters. So that's like 237 yards, I want to say, for 50 grams. So it's like a light fingering, and it was $11.50 a ball, or whatever you call this shape, a cake. I don't know. So I just got this kind of like natural color, but because the linen and the cotton take dye a little differently, you can see there's a little bit of variation. So as I said, I'm using this for that Helix Halter test knit, which should make it a nice, light, airy, summery project. I have not used a lot of the Isager, whatever you want to call it, yarns. But so far I have been happy with it. It is relatively soft for a cotton linen. Obviously, I haven't gotten anywhere near finishing the project, so I don't know how it's going to wash and block. Hopefully well, but we will just have to wait and see on that. So that is the first bit of new yarn that I got. And then the other one is for a future possible design, but maybe just personal project. So this is Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino in the Dusty Petroleum Blue color. So I think it's a little darker than it's looking here. It really looks like a slightly, that's a little bit closer to a slightly blue toned gray. So what I want to make, and I saw something similar to this, I don't remember who the designer was, but I want to make what in the past was called a Dickey, which is basically just like a collar and kind of a neckline, like a yoke of kind of a shirt or a sweater to wear under things. So it doesn't have any sleeves, it doesn't have a body. So what I want this for is I struggle to get shawls to really fit under a coat. They always seem to want to come unwound, they get bunched up, or they start coming loose and then they're not fitting close enough to my neck. And my neck is cold, which kind of defeats the purpose. So what I want is to create something that is kind of like a folded ribbed collar that, you know, spreads across the shoulders a little bit and then comes down in a point to cover this part, because a lot of times this part of my jacket is just kind of left open. It's just more comfortable. Also, my coat is missing a button that I don't have, so I haven't been able to fix it. And the button is like, it has 4 buttons, so it buttons from like here to here, and the button that's missing is like here. So I can't button like 1, 2, and have a big hole in the middle, right across, you know, my chest. It just looks stupid. So I have to leave both buttons at the top open, and then I'm even colder. So that's basically what I want to do, is just kind of create a thick double layer, right, that's going to fit close around the neck. You know, maybe some kind of little layer in the upper, just to cover the upper shoulders to hold it in place, over the shoulders here, and then kind of like a pointed shawl type to cover the front here. So that's what I got this for. Beyond the kind of like general shape of what it is, I haven't done any, this is not something I'm going to make now in March, because by the time I plan it and start it and then finish it, and it's going to be June. So this is definitely something I'm going to put on hold for a bit. But I really like the idea. I think it's going to be sort of a more utilitarian knit that just is going to fit better for me and my personal, I don't know, inability to correctly wear a shawl with a coat. Just doesn't seem to work well for me. And I think this will help with that. So that's sort of the vague plan I have for that. So like I said, I saw another designer who had sort of a Dickey design. And there's nothing wrong with hers, but it doesn't quite have the shape that I want. So like I said, I want a really close fitting, double folded collar, and then I want it pointed down in the front. And to reach all the way over to kind of the shoulder point here, so that the whole thing will kind of lay flat across my shoulders and I can pull the coat over it. Like I said, I can't remember the name of the designer. It's called like the Coffee Run collar or something, really similar to that. So it's like a similar concept, but just the shape of hers is not the shape that I want for this for me. So maybe that's something that's going to be coming later this year. I don't know, but I have the yarn for it. I did put in an order with Knit Picks for some more yarn for a couple of projects, and a set of crochet hooks. So like I said, it's not here yet. I was hoping it was going to arrive today. Sadly, it didn't, because I did want to show you. I am going to be doing at least one video here on the channel showcasing my attempts to learn to crochet. And I've been seeing a lot of crochet lately that really interests me. I don't know what that's about, but so I got the crochet hooks. I got yarn for that sweater, the Amelie cardigan, and I got yarn for something else. I think it was another pattern from the same designer that I got yarn for, I think. I don't know. Hopefully in the next episode I'll be able to show you that yarn. And since we're flashing some stash, I don't have any sewing to show you. I just started a new project, but I've really been kind of off the sewing lately because I feel like every project I've done since Christmas has turned out badly. It has fit wrong. I made too many mistakes. I cut the fabric wrong. Everything has been a big fail. So it's kind of taking a step back, and really haven't been doing as much sewing. So I did start a new project, and hopefully we'll have that to show you. It's a dress for Easter that I'm hoping will be done to take to Peru. And we'll definitely show you guys. But I have bought a little bit of fabric, so we'll call that fabric stash. So I got this. Now, once I washed this, the crinkliness of it became more apparent, and honestly, I have not had much luck with crinkle fabrics. They're really hard to cut correctly, but it has this really nice kind of embroidery patterning on it, and it'll be really cute for a summer top. And to be honest, the other crinkle fabric that I was having so much trouble with is not a cotton. This is a cotton, so that at least it's a little bit more stable. So we'll see how that works. But if I pick a pattern that's not like super tailored, I think, slight inaccuracies in cutting the fabric will probably work out. And then I got this beautiful fabric. So so I was looking for fabric for this pattern. It looks like a dress, and it can be a dress, but it can also be, what do you want to call it? Like, kind of like wide, like culottes, like wide leg pants, but it looked like a dress, secret pants. I was looking for fabric for this. I need 4.5 yards, which is a fair bit of fabric. And what I really wanted was this really like retro 70s floral fabric that I found on Spoonflower, but it was just too expensive. So I needed sort of a drapey fabric, and so this says suggested fabrics: silky types, gauze, rayons, cottons. Rayons, they're so fussy, and I don't think I'm ready for them yet. I have used them before, but I didn't really want to go that route. And cottons are obviously fine, but since it wants a drapey type of fabric, like a quilting cotton, wasn't going to work. And the Spoonflower fabric, they're like voile or lawn fabric. It's like $24 a yard, which isn't unreasonable. For 4.5 yards, it seemed excessive. So I got this, which I think is kind of a little more of like a 70s color combo with the purple and pink and gold. This is, I don't remember, some kind of lightweight yarn dyed cotton that is nice and drapey and relatively thin. So I think this is going to be really nice for this. I think that's got enough drape for the sort of secret pants element of it. And it was not $24 a yard. I don't remember what it was. I got it from Stone Mountain. What's it called? Stone Mountain something? I don't remember. And if you are a Seamwork member, which I am, they have a lot of discount codes for different fabric providers. So I got an extra 15% off in it. So that really helped. It was much more, it was like $15 a yard or something, which was more reasonable since I needed so much of it. I still need to find a lining fabric though. And then the last one I got is my first denim, because I want to make my first pair of jeans this year. The older I get, the more dissatisfied I am with store-bought jeans. They just never seem to fit, or they seem to fall apart after, a couple of washes and start sprouting holes. So I got this nice dark wash. It is lightly stretch. So the pattern I'm looking at is the Ginger Jeans, which is from Closet Core, I think. I have already purchased it, which calls for a denim with some stretch. So I've got it. I'm not planning to start anytime soon. I really want to focus on right now some tops and some kind of summery warm weather dresses, but that is in the works. So a little bit more fabric in the fabric stash as well. All right, guys, that is about all I have for you today. I am not going to linger in on Chatterbox this time, just because I'm very busy today. I've got a big family party special dinner tomorrow, and I need to bake cookies, a cake, make 60 deviled eggs, and some other appetizer for that, and gravy, and that needs to get done today. So I'm not gonna linger on in Chatterbox, but I do want to thank you for joining me for this episode. Links to everything that I have talked about can be found in the show notes at mediaperuana.com/Hilo and Stitch. If you enjoyed this episode, I hope you will give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to the channel so you can check out future episodes, vlogs, tutorials, all kinds of good stuff here at Media Peruana Knits YouTube channel. If you are looking for me on social media, you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Media Peruana. And I will see you next time.